Hi, Sally. Welcome to the Wedding Business Podcast. I'm so happy you're here.
Thank you so much. I'm really excited to be here. And thank you for giving me the opportunity.
Oh, no, we spoke about it quite a while ago, didn't we? And I said, Sally, you must come on my podcast. And you were like, yes, okay. And somehow all of those months have passed and here you are.
I know, yeah.
For people listening who don't know who you are, tell us about Sally. Tell us about your business and exactly how you support your clients.
Okay, so I'm Sally Jackson, and a bit about me. I'm a mum with 2 adult kids. I'm a granny. I live in Exmouth in Devon and by the sea. I love nature. I love a challenge, and I'm a would-be traveller, I would say. Business-wise, my business is my Wedding Godmother. I'm a fairly rare species, I think, in that I'm a bride's body confidence coach. And what that means is I help brides who are struggling, maybe ashamed of their body, the doubts that they feel, to be empowered, to accept, trust, and many of them admire their bodies, which is brilliant. And I do that through work around habit formation, mindset, and emotional breakthrough.
Wow.
So
there's a lot we need to unpack there. Let's start then, because I mean, I got married 15 years ago, and I would say the pressure probably is even more so now on people who are getting married to look their best. I mean, it's like the second you get engaged, I feel like I remember people saying, oh, so are you going to lose weight? Are you going to get fit? And I think, you just need to step foot into a wedding show, and there's so much about how people need to change how they look in order to qualify to get married. Tell me from your side about this pressure that people find themselves in.
So it's huge. I mean, I think one of the saddest comments I've probably ever had from a bride was, I'm not worthy to be a bride.
That's horrific.
Just horrible. And I think the pressure comes from, I think it comes from social media, and that's probably the big thing that's changed. I think social media obviously just gives us what people want us to see. Image. Often brides don't necessarily realize they're looking at shoots. Those sorts of things I think can really be an issue, but also groups that brides are in can be very triggering. Then I think the second group is family and friends, and that's always been the case. A comment from a mum, again, a particular bride I worked with, her mum stood outside the bridal boutique. They were just about to go in for their appointment, and she said, well, of course you wouldn't wear that dress, would you? And that's just enough. That's enough to totally undermine that bride's confidence. The pressure of perhaps seeing friends who you haven't seen for 5 years. Again, another bride I worked with had a tendency to be anorexic when she was at university. She really worked hard to overcome it, but she was very thin, and has gained quite a bit of weight. And so people would be seeing her who hadn't seen her for 5 years. She was incredibly worried about how she'd be judged. So friends, family. Then I think the third group is suppliers. And I think maybe we don't always realize it, but sometimes perhaps when someone says, I'm fat or whatever, we say, oh no, you look lovely or whatever. And sometimes actually that can be a real problem. Again, bridal boutiques. I've heard a couple of brides say, they've been asked, are you planning to lose weight? A relatively innocent comment, perhaps, but so triggering. And then of course the brides themselves, the pressure they put themselves under.
That is so triggering. And you're right, because actually from a seamstress perspective, they need to know, because when someone's body does change shape, it can massively change the look of a dress.
Yeah.
So probably what is an innocent question, it's the way we see that through the filter of our own belief system.
Exactly.
Why is she asking that? Like, it must mean because she thinks I should lose weight, therefore I am overweight, I need to do something, I'm not worthy of being a bride. You can see that spiral.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
How did you then, so we'll get more into this, because I actually think this is a fascinating topic. This podcast could probably go on for hours, but we'll try and keep it succinct. But your background is, I mean, you have worked in healthcare for a long time, and you found yourself in a very senior role. How did you go from that to what is a very niche business?
Yes, yeah. So a bit of a journey, 40 years in nursing, and towards the end of my career in nursing, clinically, I worked as a practice nurse. I helped people particularly with health behavior change, and particularly people who wanted to reverse their type 2 diabetes. That was sort of where I was positioned and clinically. And then I had 10 years at the end of my career doing an amazing job where I was actually helping consultants, GPs, medical students to have those really difficult, challenging conversations. So perhaps when someone's dying or something like that. And so what I wanted was to be able to use my coaching skills, which I'd developed, my fascination and love about the mind and health generally, mind, body health, and my work around habit formation, and my desire to continue to make a difference, but to perhaps do something a bit different. I'd done my role for 10 years. I really, really loved it. And I wanted to leave while I was still good at it, because it was very, very challenging work. And also I was getting to the stage where perhaps some of it wasn't quite as much of a challenge as it used to be. So I was ready for a new challenge. I set myself up as a type 2 diabetes coach, and I did that for 18 months or so. And I enjoyed it, but I realized that actually I was done with focusing on ill health, and I wanted to focus on health. And my last client that I had said to me, "Oh, you really should work with Josie." And I said, "Oh, who's Josie?" And she said, "Oh, she's my daughter-in-law. Well, they're getting married, da, da, da. And that triggered me to go, that would be a way of working in health. And so it went from there, really. And then I've had my own issues with my body. I've certainly, up until my mid-40s, lived on the scales. And when I got married, I was very, very conscious about my body. And my godmother was incredibly helpful and supportive to me, and hence my wedding godmother. Oh. So that's a very long-winded answer to your question.
Oh no, I love that. I didn't know that about the name of the business, Sally. That's lovely. I really love that. I mean, I know you outside of this podcast. Obviously, you're a member of the Wedding Business Club. You've been through my program, the Flow Method, and I have to say, I just think you are so perfect for this role. It's unreal how perfect and how made for this role you are. I think the clients that you work with are just they must be thrilled when they find you.
Oh, and they very kind of you.
And they must just think it actually must open up a whole new world of opportunity, because I think when you surround yourself with all of that noise of the wedding industry, you're absolutely right, it's very loud, and if you are not accepting of yourself in that space, I imagine it can really eat you up.
Yeah.
Like very quickly. And it's really interesting, because right at the top of the conversation, you said about suppliers, and you referenced, a consumer couple, when they're looking at photos, they don't know whether that's a real couple or whether that's a photo shoot or whether they're models. And I know that in my head, but when you said it, I was like, yeah, like how much better we've got as an industry at representing people in our styled shoots. I don't think we're anywhere near done, but we're so much better now. When I think when I started in the industry, there was a certain look of a person that you would include in a styled shoot, and anyone outside of that, whether that be shape, skin color, height, you just wouldn't include them. Like
Yeah.
no one talked about it, but it just was off the table completely.
Mm. Mm.
How in your professional view then, what do we need to be doing as suppliers, bearing in mind this huge responsibility that we have? What can we do to help our couples who we may not even know need help?
So I think it's all down to communication and connection. So when somebody says something like, oh, I'm fat, or, oh, I don't like photos, or, I don't look good in photos, or whatever the deprecating remark that they might make, easy to go, oh, no, you're lovely, or, no, you'll be absolutely fine. And it's actually about giving them the space. Even if all you say is, let's say somebody says, oh, well, I'm really overweight. And they just make that as a sort of, or I'm fat or whatever. It's actually about acknowledging what they've said, because that takes such courage to actually say that. So something like, I can hear that's a struggle for you at the moment, or just something that acknowledges it. And then maybe, depending on how you feel, if you don't feel very confident, the simplest thing to say is, I'm not sure what to say to that, or I'm not sure how to help you, but maybe you can tell me what I could do to help you.
Wow, yeah, that's such a different way of dealing with it than, no, you're not.
Yeah, and I think the thing is that people say to me, well, I wouldn't know what to say. I'd feel really, really uncomfortable. And that's why I say, well, just say, I don't know what to say, because that builds connection. And that's not pushing that person away. That's saying, I really want to help. I just don't quite know how to. Yeah. And very often someone will then come back. If you're feeling braver, then you could say something like, that sounds really tough. What's brought that about? Or what's brought that about today? Or, something that just gives someone some space. And you'll be amazed what people will tell you.
I mean, it sounds so obvious when you say it. Like, I'm annoyed with myself how obvious that sounds, but it's not, is it? Because you have
to be vulnerable to do that.
Yeah. And also, as a photographer, people tell me like they want to look good in their photos. Like I want them to look good. I want them, I actually, it's not about them looking good. I want them to like what they see.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That's my part of the whole role in the wedding day. I want them to look at photos and think, wow, what a true and beautiful representation of, one of the best days of our lives. But trying to like break through to somebody who is already conjuring up this picture that they're going to hate how they look is tough. I mean, I'm really open to that, and that's my coaching experience kicking in. But for a photographer who's not had a conversation like this ever in their life with anyone, and probably has their own body confidence issue,
yeah,
it's slightly like the blind leading the blind, isn't it?
Yeah.
What so is what you're saying that having, being vulnerable with somebody who is vulnerable is a better way to deal with it than the protest that we normally would say, which is, no, you look fabulous, you look amazing.
Yeah. And as a photographer, I think you could say, I'm so pleased you told me that, because now I can think about how we can help you.
Oh, wow. I love that. I love that statement.
And for me, with the photographer, when somebody's body confident, the key thing is about relationship. Because if you can get them to be relaxed and not thinking about, I don't want my teeth in the photo, or I don't want to be on my left profile, or what. If you can get them to forget that and show them that you can get candid shots when they're relaxed, then that changes everything, I think. Because and also that initial relationship, having that having found those points where you connect, whether that's, you know, a TV program or the dog or whatever it is, so that you can relax them by talking about those sorts of things. And then I think with a bride who is very body conscious, I think it's candid shots, isn't it? You're not going to try and get those formal shots. So you might steer them away if they were thinking they had to have formal shots.
Yeah.
By actually saying, how do you feel about having formal shots? Would you rather I just caught you
unawares? Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
How about then other suppliers in the food chain, as it were? Every step of the way, I'm thinking now we're having this discussion through this different filter, and I'm thinking, how can we do better? How can we do better at, and I don't necessarily, I think it's about inclusivity and the wider picture, right? And you can bring in all sorts of different thoughts and into that discussion. But for the sake of today and talking about body confidence and how we encourage our clients to feel confident, does it simply come down to representation? Is it choice? So when you walk into a bridal boutique, having a dress that fits you? Is it seeing pictures on websites of all different types of people? Is that how we can do better as a whole?
I think it's all of that. I think it's all of that. It's acknowledging that we're all different, and that our beauty is not skin deep. Our beauty is from within us. So a very simple thing to do is give someone a compliment, but not about their appearance.
Yeah, amen to that.
You know, but yeah, I think it's all of what you're talking about.
And how about vulnerability from our perspective then? Because a lot of people who work in the industry have also got married. Do you think there's a need for us to be more open about our own stories and our own journey to becoming the people we needed to be to feel worthy as a bride or a groom? Or
yeah, I absolutely do. I think the more we can share our own experiences, because again, it builds that connection. That's why I'm doing interviews at the moment with suppliers, if anyone wants to, you know, come and be interviewed, because actually the more we can show that actually we all have our own experiences, we all have our own baggage, and it makes us human.
Yeah. So your clients in particular then, Sally, they come to you because they don't, I mean, it must be different with every person, but the essence is they don't feel confident in their body and they're worried about their wedding being like, I don't know, the magnifying glass of that emotion, I would think. How do you take someone like that maybe simply focused on, but I just need to lose 3 stone and then I'll be worthy of being a bride? How do you, because we all know that that's not the reality. Like, it's not about the 3 stone or the 2 stone or the whatever. How do you take someone with that mindset, which is, if I lose weight, it's all going to be okay, and guide them to a place of, I feel good as I am? How do you do that?
You change the way they think about their body, not their body.
Right.
And you do that through lots of different things. So the first thing I tend to do is do a really comprehensive assessment to find out exactly what their triggers are, and to help them, first of all, to understand that. So for example, one bride I work with, her mum when she was aged 10, she had 2 brothers. Her mum, who obviously has her own baggage, started putting less food on her plate and giving her red top milk and her brothers not.
Interesting.
So helping her to understand that that's where it started and that that was her mum's issue, not hers, was huge. So sometimes it's about looking at where those triggers have come from. Sometimes it's about looking at cultural understanding of beauty. You know, sometimes I will use Brazilian women as an example. I mean, that they actually will have butt implants, you know, and yet there we are trying to shrink up. So I kind of I put a bit of fun in it and try and actually get people to see that how crazy a world that we live in, you know. And sometimes that can change things. So it's all about challenging those assumptions. And those assumptions might be around what beauty is. So, you know, that beauty is this wonderful place where everything is perfect. And I tell them about my son. My son was badly bullied, and he ended up going into a kind of a half-day session. And in that group was a 14-year-old girl, and she was stunningly beautiful, except for a scar that went from that to there. And that was where she had slashed her face because everybody was so jealous of her that she wanted it to stop. So we have this perception that beauty is a wonderful world, when actually beauty is full of problems. You know, even for those people, you know, who are in that world, it's full of problems. But then we also have assumptions around, if I lost the weight, my life will be perfect. And of course, that is about actually what makes you and what makes people love you. And very often it's also around, you know, people who have very low self-esteem, who hate their bodies. I mean, another bride that I worked with, I mean, it's actually my first bride. She had been with her partner for 10 years. They had a 9-year-old daughter. She would not let her partner see her in the nude because she was terrified that he would leave her if she did. And she shamed her body every day. She stood in front of the mirror and she shamed her body every day, and her 9-year-old daughter listened to that.
Oh no.
So what we did there was we were able to actually build legacy, because I got her daughter practicing the techniques with her mum.
They should teach this in school. And actually,
absolutely.
I think schools are doing better, but
I
think we all need to do even better. And I think, like, I know this is not a gender exclusive emotion. Like, I know specifically you work with women. I don't think this is only something that affects women.
It's not. No.
And I suspect that what we're talking here is something that's so deep rooted in society that you alone, you have a tough job on your hands. Because I imagine there are an increasing number of women who really need your help. What I love most though, Sally, is that you're, you know, weight loss, a bridal weight loss coach. There's thousands out there, and I by the way, I am not undermining that, because you know, where there is demand, there will be supply, and there are a lot of people who want that for themselves.
And it's all about intention. If that bride, I will sometimes, after a bride has worked with me, I will sometimes then help them to put habits in place to lose weight. But it's about intention. If that intention is, I need to lose this 3 stone because nobody loves me, or because I will feel judged on my wedding day, that is a very different from, do you know what? If I just lost another £7, I'd really look hot in my dress.
Yeah.
For me.
Yeah.
That's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah. And then you've got health conditions that, as you know, because you're the clinical expert in that, sometimes people have to lose weight because of a medical condition, and the way to make themselves better is to do that. We're not really talking about that here. We're talking about the impact on someone's belief system on one of the most magical days in their lives, right? That's the kind of headline of it.
Exactly. And also that the changes they make, I mean, probably one of the things that excites me most about my business is that the changes they make last after their wedding.
Yeah.
It is a lifelong, it potentially can change someone's life dramatically.
Yeah. Well, it must be, it must be, I don't want to say odd. It must be a different experience for you when you receive an inquiry, because, as a wedding photographer, I receive an inquiry and it's like, we're getting married at this venue, and this person's going to do our flowers, and I'm going to get my dress from this person, and I get really excited because it's all visual loveliness, and I'm like, yay, and they sound really great, they're my kind of people, the language they use, yada yada yada. And then that gets me really excited about working with that client. For you, it must be like the opposite end of the scale. Someone's in a bad place when they come to you, presumably, or not always?
Pretty much, yeah.
So how do you know I can help this person?
That's a really interesting question, because I've been really challenged recently. So timescale was one thing that I've set my program up so that I do 6 sessions over 12 weeks. And then I had a bride who contacted me 1 month before she was due to get married. She'd had a pre-engagement shoot. She hadn't let her partner see the photos, or not see them, hadn't let them share them. She wouldn't look at the pre-engagement shoot photos. She hated them. And she was struggling to tell her partner as well. And her partner was really quite angry about it. And she came to me with a month before the wedding.
What did you do with
that? She's one of my biggest successes, actually.
Oh, wow. Okay.
She went from that to actually, and she probably had a bit to drink, in fairness, but she posted a video of herself dancing on her wedding day on social media.
Wow.
I mean, that was just, and they're just the most beautiful girls. They just looked just so happy together. It's wonderful. So I had that, and then I had somebody who actually approached me and said, I'm getting married in 15 days, and actually I don't want to get married. And in that case, I had to go, well, can I do anything? And because I was really unsure, I'm so sorry, I thought I'd turn my notifications off. Because I was really unsure, I basically said to her, look, we'll do, we have to do 6 sessions, because that's what I need to cover. But obviously we've got to do them really close together. So we'll do 3, and then we'll see where you are. And if you want to, then you can have your money back on the remainder 3. I was that uncertain.
Wow.
But again, we did get her down the aisle. I don't think we achieved anything like what I achieved with some others, but she went from I cannot get married to getting married.
Wow.
So there can be timescale things. And then there can also be people coming to me with, as you said, health condition. So I had somebody who came to me with flushing rosacea, which is completely different. So I never know what the sort of level of challenges, but I do know that everyone has it within them. So I just have to find a way to bring it out. Because I don't actually do anything other than help someone to actually find their resources.
Well, by the sounds of it, you do it really well, Sally. So yeah. Okay, I've got a couple of questions before we bring it to a close. First one is, so for suppliers who are listening, what are a couple of things that we can do better to help people who underneath might be feeling these feels right now?
I think it is what we talked about. It is having that open communication, letting them know that you are connecting with what they're feeling in whatever way you're comfortable to do that. But the simplest way is, I don't know what to say, but I'd like to help. Yeah,
I love that. And if someone's not volunteering that information, I mean, a question that I would ask always as the photographer is, is there anything you're really worried about for the wedding day?
Yeah.
So that might throw up that sort of response, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. So that's the kind of connection piece. And then from a being visible and what we're showing, I think we have a responsibility, and this comes under that wider umbrella of inclusivity.
Oh, definitely. To think about the pictures.
Better, right?
Yeah. The images that you're posting, the bridal boutiques, to make sure that they actually have dresses that fit normal size people.
Yeah.
That we think about the fact that whenever we are doing anything related to the wedding, we are portraying an image, and it's an opportunity to challenge that bride's assumptions that they need to be this perfect fairy tale bride.
Yeah. Okay. Good. So that's good. I also want to ask from a personal perspective then, Sally, because I would take a guess that there's quite a few people listening to this and they're like, I want to do better for my clients. Bearing in mind the listenership of this podcast, is wedding suppliers. But I think a lot of people will, this will have stirred something up that says, yes, I need to do better for my clients. How can they do better for themselves? Because I don't know, you just have to have a chat. Like you and I, Sally, when we were having this conversation in person, and I said, I think you should come on the podcast. We were around a table of women who had been through my flow method course, and there was so much around not feeling worthy, and that's not even of being a bride, that's just so this is a problem that is deep rooted, not exclusively by gender, but in society. So what little tools could you give us that we could perhaps start thinking differently about our own body confidence?
I think a lovely thing to do is to look in the mirror and tell yourself 3 things you're proud of. It's such a simple thing to do.
Yeah.
Or it sounds so simple. But actually to really acknowledge what you're proud of about yourself, that's a really lovely thing to do.
Yeah.
Give yourself a hug. I think I'm a great believer in that. And also, again, a super technique is just to actually go, okay, my body's there in this circle. What else goes in that circle? What makes up me? Because, like I said, our beauty is not what's on the outside. Our beauty is what's within us. So really, really using techniques. Get your friends to tell you 3 things they love about you. You'll be amazed how much that will boost your confidence and your self-esteem. So they would be some simple things.
I love those. I think we should all of us should go and do that. I mean, I say it with absolute sincerity that the least interesting thing about anyone that I love and hold dear in my life is the size of their bum. Like I just, it's just not interesting. But then you turn the view back onto yourself, and suddenly it becomes the most interesting thing. And on the basis that you probably have people in your life that are similar to you, because, you know, herd mentality, they probably think the least interesting thing about you is the size of your bum. And it's so basic when you actually say it out loud, but yet so debilitating for so many people.
Yeah, that's right. That's absolutely right. That's always one of the things I say to brides. Do you spend time thinking about other people's bodies? Do you actually spend time doing that?
Like, actually never.
No.
Genuinely, I find it very uninteresting.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we could all take a lesson. Sally, this has been so fascinating. But before you go, I just want to talk a little bit about you starting your business, because what we're talking about here is very niche.
Yeah.
Like I know other people who do similar, have similar businesses to you, but by no means are you plentiful. I think you should be. But, you know, like, how many wedding photographers do you know? Like, loads. How many, you know, body empowerment coaches do you know? Not many.
No.
So what advice would you give to somebody who is starting out in the industry and who is very niche? Because I know it's not been like, I start my business, boom, off I go, overnight success for you. And I hope you don't mind me saying that.
No, not
that
at all.
You have been on your journey. But the one thing you've always been just so sure about is the impact that you could have, and the fact that you believed in it so much. So what advice would you give to someone who's starting out in this industry and who does have a niche business, and it therefore feels like you're re-educating a whole industry?
I think know your why.
Yeah.
Know your why and have it stuck up, and just never lose sight of it. Read it every day. My why is about freedom for my clients to actually know who they are, to be their authentic selves, freedom for myself to have, you know, financial security, that I know my why. And you really helped that in the very early days of the business club. For me, when shortly after I joined, I remember you had an exercise about writing your testimonials, and I wrote my testimonials, and I used to read them every day until I got actual. Know your why, and have it very, very much in your vision. And whenever you start to doubt yourself, read it.
Oh, love that. And I love that exercise. So many people think I've gone mad when I tell them to do it, but writing out testimonials from your future clients, I lose some people at this point. They're like, whoa, that's a bit woo-woo for me. But it works, doesn't it?
It so works. It really does. I mean, one of my first clients was pretty much my testimonial. It was.
And then you don't need my made-up testimonial anymore. You can get your own ones. But yeah, it's such a good tool. And I love that, Sally. And I know it's not been easy by any stretch, but you've always stayed so close to, like, your belief for the impact that you could have. And I genuinely think that is what will give you and your business long-term success, is that genuinely, you know, if you take everything out of it, you still want to do what you're doing.
Yeah. I absolutely love doing what I do.
Oh, it really shows. Last question, and then I'll let you go. You obviously, we've spoken about it very briefly there. You're a member of the Wedding Business Club. Tell us just very quickly about your experience as a member and what you think it's helped you most with.
Oh, so many things. Obviously, there's the obvious stuff, like the Q's and A's and the Facebook group, in terms of, you know, sharing your wins, putting up your goals, your accountability, all that sort of thing. But for me, I think it's been a fantastic way of really understanding the wedding industry, the challenges, connecting with such lovely people. I've had some referrals from the Wedding Business Club as well. And then, of course, doing flow. I would never have known about the flow method if it hadn't been for being part of the club. So, and that was probably the thing that has changed my business more than anything else, was doing that.
I'm so pleased, Sally. I don't know how you and I collided, but we did somehow, and I'm very grateful for that.
Me too.
Thank you so much. If people want to find you, where's the best place to connect?
On Instagram.
Okay.
So yeah. So I'm My Wedding Godmother on Instagram.
Great. Thank you so much, Sally. I'll speak to you soon.
You're very welcome.
Take care.